This is Glass City Humanist, a show about humanism, humanist values, by a humanist. Here is your host, Douglas Berger.
Organized groups are having trouble with declining numbers because younger people don't think the groups address their concerns like social justice. Secular groups should address those issues because they have a long root in the conflict between church and state.
Glass City Humanist is an outreach project of the secular humanists of Western Lake Erie, building community through compassion and reason for a better tomorrow.
Okay, I just wanted to take a few minutes here to let you know about some upcoming events that the secular humanists of Western Lake Erie are going to take part in. And if you happen to be out and about this month of August, come check us out. On August the 13th, we will be at the Maumee Summer Fair. That's being held in beautiful downtown Maumee. We'll have a booth. Our usual booth will be there. I will be there. Come check us out. We're going to have the dinosaur handouts again, the little toy dinosaurs for the kids. And for the adults, we got a couple of books that we'll be raffling off. We have Andrew Seidel's book that's been out about separation of church and state, the history of separation of church and state. And we have an autograph book from Adam Savage that we got an extra one when he appeared in Toledo a couple years ago, and we're going to auction that off as well. So if you're interested in that, check us out, fill out the form. If you want to donate to us, we'll have our donation jar out. Check us out, stop by, and see us. The other activity that we will be participating in is the next Saturday after the Maumee Summer Fair will be Toledo Pride. Will be taking place on August the 20th at Promenade Park. We've been there before, so we'll be there again, and we'll have our booth set up, and we'll have dinosaur toys for the kids, and we'll be raffling off those books again. And so, we support LGBT people, and that's why we are there. So stop by and check us out, and then we also have a picnic coming up in September, on September 11th, Patriots Day. Woohoo! We'll be meeting having a picnic at the Rotary Shelter at the Middle Grounds Metro Park, which is under the High Level Bridge, if you know where that's at, and we're near the train station. And we'll have the information all posted on our website on how to get there. If you've ever been part of this group, if you've ever come to a meeting, everybody is invited to come. You can bring a dish to share. You could bring your own food if you don't want, we'll have some food to share. I believe we're providing some beverages, some water, cola, stuff like that. And bring your games, bring your ball, something to play with. It's going to be a good time. I hope you guys can show up. Also, September is the month before a new membership year begins. We recently changed, this past year, we changed to having our memberships expire on the same day every year, and that's going to be September 30th. So, if you are a member of the Secular Humanists of Western Lake Erie, now you can update renew your membership. We have it all set up on the website. If you go to humanist.org/join, just go ahead and renew your membership that way. If you see us at the booths in August, you can tell us you want to renew your membership. We'll take your money. You can always do it online as well at any time. But just letting you know, because in October we have our annual members meeting where we also elect a board for the next year. So if you're also interested in serving on our board of directors, that's, you want to make sure you have your membership paid up, and just let me know that you're interested in serving on the board, and we'll get you set up to run for that. And so, so as we move into fall, and then we have a speaker tentatively scheduled for September as well. Having to work out the details on that, and we'll announce that soon. And so we need a speaker for October and November. So if you know somebody or are interested in speaking to our group, just visit our website, fill out the contact form, or send me a note and let us know. So that's everything that's coming up, and take care.
Do you like what you hear? Would you like to support the show so we can make it better? You can write a review for podcast apps that allow reviews. You can share our website, glasscityhumanist.show, with your friends, and you can donate to the show using the donate link on the website. Any support is appreciated.
If you follow trends and polls, trying to figure out, well, that's one way of finding answers about how a community feels about a topic. One of the topics that gets polled a lot about is church attendance or belief in religion, that sort of thing. And for many, many years, church attendance has been shrinking in this country. According to a report in the Baptist Standard back in 2021, they surveyed 15,278 religious congregations across the United States and confirmed that what sociologists have documented for several decades is that people aren't attending church. They found a median decline in attendance of 7% between 2015 and 2020. And so they still have quite a few people that attend, but not everybody attends. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One reason is that a lot of evangelical churches are very extreme. They don't like LGBT people. They're against abortion, against poor people, against minorities in some places, and that turns off people. And then you have the mainline churches, like the Protestant churches, such as Presbyterians and Episcopalians and Catholics, where people find other things to do on a Sunday rather than go to church, or maybe they can't go to church because they're working. A lot of people work on the weekends nowadays with the way the economy is. And so they don't go to church. Now, that's not necessarily meaning that they are atheists, because many people are not. When we do the polls and find out how many are nuns, a vast majority of nuns are people who don't go to church, who don't attend church, not even on the high holidays like Christmas and Easter. And one of those groups of people that are part of our nun collection are Gen Zers, Generation Z, the millennials. They are the least religious generation in the nation's history. And so there's just been this long trend of secularization in America, and a lot of millennials grew up in households without religion, and religious services and activities were not significant as part of the experience. And we see this also, too, I want to point out, in the secular movement. This article that I'm getting this information from on the Only Sky Media website was written by Sami Al-Assadi, and they talked about going to the FFRF convention, the Freedom from Religion Foundation convention in 2021. She was a recipient of the Al Luman Student Activist Award, and she was one of the few college-age members that she saw. A vast majority of them were people 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. And I can attest to that was like that in 2001 when I attended the American Humanist Association convention in Los Angeles. I was one of the few people that, at the time I was in my 30s or close to 30, there was like a handful of us. The rest of the people were retired people or older people in their 60s. Maybe they're not retired. And so that's kind of like a thing, kind of a side tangent, sorry. One of the things that I have a problem with these national conventions is they take a lot of time, a weekend or more than a weekend. They are very expensive. I think for me my fiance and I went to the FFRF convention in 2017 in Madison. And I think it cost, even outside of the hotel that we stayed at, it cost close to $300 for us to attend. You know, a lot of people don't have that money. That's why I like the convention like Skepticon that just completed their 2022 edition, where they finally got to meet in person for most people. That's convention meets in St. Louis. It was the end of July 20, the weekend of July 29th. And that is free for people to attend. You still have to pay for your own lodging and food, but to attend and they get donations to pay for things because it's not free to put it on, but it doesn't cost the attendees things. But anyway, and so they get a lot of younger people that attend, a lot of millennials and people in their early 40s. They attend that conference, and I've been to that one too, and I like that one a lot more. But so not just in churches, religious churches, but you see that happening in secular space. James Frycroft, who is the senior leader of the Ethical Society of St. Louis, recently announced that he was leaving his position after 7 years. And one of the reasons he's leaving is because he doesn't see a future in organized ethical culture as it is now. And he also doesn't see anybody wanting to change it. And so he's not going to spend his valuable time in an organization that does not embrace change and want to change with the times and with the people and address things that the people want to have addressed. I mean, a lot of times, a lot of these Catholic churches and old Protestant churches, they wither away and die because nobody wants to change anything. You know, they just want a place to go to on Sundays, and they don't want to actually address any issues. They don't, they want to do their yearly charity for Christmas and things like that. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to do as founder and president of the Secular Humanists of Western Lake Erie is I want to get involved in the community outside of meetings. We have quite a few people, older people, that's all they want are meetings. They don't want, they're not clamoring, they're not begging me, hey, we want to do some things. Younger people that have been come by our meetings and things, they want to do other things. They want to actually take action and make change rather than just talk. And that's one of the things that as a leader of a group, a secular group, I struggle with making it enjoyable and being able to bring in different people. Just recently we had a speaker come in to one of our monthly meetings, abortion clinic escort, and it was sparsely attended. We didn't have very many people, which really disappointed me. That is something. And the reason why it's important is because a lot of these social justice issues that we should be concerned about have an element of separation of church and state in them. And that's important. Separation of church and state and being active and addressing violations when we see them, that is very important in what we do as a group. Social justice issues that we want to be active and address have a component of separation of church and state. For example, just the recent Roe v. Wade decision that the Supreme Court issued, that was entirely based on religion. The whole reasoning that Justice Alito made for saying that women did not have a right to an abortion was based on his religious beliefs as a Catholic, and it seems now, turns out that he was talking to some evangelical anti-abortionists. And that whole framework, the whole reasoning, was all based on religion. So they recently had a case, there was recently a court case in Kentucky where a women's clinic, EMW Women's Surgical Center, sued the state of Kentucky, trying to get a 6-week fetal heartbeat ban overturned, saying that it violated the Kentucky state constitution. So that's what happened after the Dobbs decision came down that overruled Roe v. Wade, is that the abortion question moved to the states to decide. So that you're going to have a patchwork of different states having different rules, different laws, and etc. Okay, that's the main thing that happened. So the surgical center sued the state of Kentucky, and the judge ruled in their favor. Initially, it said, and I wanted to read what the court said in part. They said, defendants' witnesses argue that life begins at the very moment of fertilization, and as such is entitled to full constitutional protection at that point. However, this is distinctly Christian and Catholic belief. Other faiths hold a wide variety of views on when life begins and at what point a fetus should be recognized as an independent human being. The General Assembly is not permitted to single out and endorse the doctrine of a favored faith for preferred treatment. There is nothing in our laws or history that allows for such theocratic-based policy making. And I totally agree with that decision, because that is what a decision that says a woman can't get an abortion, that's what they base it on. They base it on theocracy. And that is just not something that we should stand for. So it doesn't matter how you feel personally about abortion. What it is somebody's rights are being violated entirely because of religion. And we should be against that completely, in any form. Another one, when we talk about racism, a lot of racist ideas are based on religious beliefs. And so we should be working on that. The same with a lot of social service policy making is based on religion. I know for a fact during one economic downturn back in the 80s, the federal government, led by Ronald Reagan, a Republican, wanted to privatize social services and have religious groups take over. And in a lot of cases, that's what happened. If you go into a lot of cities today, a lot of the social services are taken care of by religious organizations. That's just wrong. They should not be allowed to do that. Yes, by all means, if they want to have a charity and help people, that's great. But tax-funded money, taxpayers funding money going to these religious groups is wrong and should not be done. That's something we need to address. And so that's what we're talking about. A lot of social justice issues. Just the other day, Ohio Attorney General David Yost signed on to a lawsuit against the federal government that had mandated non-discrimination of LGBT people when considering not funding, but considering distributing school lunches, because a majority is funded by the federal government. And the federal government said, if you take federal money for these school lunches, you cannot discriminate against LGBT people. Now, we had a Supreme Court decision a couple of years ago that said that LGBT people were a protected status when it came to federal policy. And just like women are protected, just like minorities are protected, old age, people that are in old age, senior citizens are protected. And they said that sex discrimination was illegal. And if you discriminated against LGBT people, you were doing that. You were discriminating against people, a protected class. So Ohio Attorney General David Yost decides to sign on to this lawsuit because he doesn't believe that LGBT people should not be discriminated against. He tries to couch it, his remarks when he put out the statement about it, said that the federal government shouldn't tell school districts what to do, blah, blah, blah. No, he's anti-abortion. He's very religious, and he signed on to it because his religion compels him to sign on to it. His religion says that LGBT people are less than human, so he's going to use his power of his office to discriminate against LGBT people. And for me, as a humanist, that is wrong, and we need to do something about it. So, even if you believe that the separation of church and state is the primary reason groups like ours exist, and that we shouldn't be doing anything else but separation of church and state, that's why it also includes social justice issues. And that's why we need to appeal to millennials and younger people to help us out and address these social justice issues. And it starts with separation of church and state. And that's what we got to tell them. This article from Only Sky that I'm going to put up on the show notes, besides telling us that Generation Z is the least religious generation, also tells us that most of Gen Z's engagement occurs in virtual spaces where religion creates a superstructure for lifestyle choices, activities, and morals. Social media caters to niche interests. Consequently, many members of Gen Z struggle to find common ground with their peers, resulting in increased social isolation and a lack of shared experiences. And so, although 66% of Gen Zers are religiously unaffiliated, they're nuns, only 9% identify as atheists. And I've said this on many occasions, both to my group members and here on the Glass City Humanist podcast, that to be a humanist doesn't require you to be an atheist. In most cases, it's going to make it easier for you to get by if you were an atheist, but you can be a believer and be a humanist. Because all a humanist requires you to do is to deal with these social justice issues, address them in a kind, compassionate way so that we can build a community for a better tomorrow. As our tagline kind of says, plug, 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 plug. And in order to do that, we have to get involved. It's not just dealing with separation of church and state. And also from this article, this last bit I'll read to you. Although most secular organizations sponsor church-state activism, there is an overabundance of recovering from religion programming. If their leadership is interested in gaining youth membership, they must create programs of topical interest to a generation impacted less by religion and more by socio-political issues than earlier generations. And when we were having those school board battles over CRT, there was a lot of religious groups, evangelical groups involved in those protests that did not want critical race theory taught in the schools. Okay? The only positive about that was that they were few and far between. There was only, there's only less than 20% people who are extremely religious. The problem comes is a lot of those people are legislators in the legislature. And so you have this small minority of people who don't have a good idea of what's going on in the world and want to institute policy based on their religion, like banning abortion, and they're in charge. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to start voting smarter. We have to start voting, running candidates, and working to preserve voting. Because again, voting rights, when you look at it, would help prevent separation of church and state issues, because we can get more progressive people in office, people who are more able to see when something truly is a violation of church and state, such as having 10 commandments on a courthouse lawn, and not try to be deferential to religion as much as the current crop of Supreme Court justices are. Because I tell you, during the pandemic, one of the most crazy arguments that was made by a federal court judge was that churches are the same as casinos when you talk about essential businesses during a public health emergency. And that is bullcrap. They are not as essential as a casino. A casino is not essential, but a church is not like a casino at all. And that's where we need to get involved, and that's where we need to get younger people involved. And so we'll probably be working on that come in the future. And so if you want to help and join us, check us out at humanistwle.org. And if you're a young person and you want to help us, we don't have any young people in our group right now. And if you want to be the first one and really mold this group into something that can appeal to more millennials and younger people, I'm all for it. Check us out, sign up, and let's hear what you have to say.
Thank you for listening. For information about the topics in this episode, please visit the episode page at glasscityhumanist.show. Glass City Humanist is an outreach of the Secular Humanists of Western Lake Erie and is supported in part by a grant by the American Humanist Association. The AHA can be reached at americanhumanist.org. Sholey can be reached at humanistswle.org. Glass City Humanist is hosted, written, and produced by Douglas Berger, and he is solely responsible for the content. Our theme music is Glass City Jam, composed using the Amplify Studio. See you next time.